everyone. I hope you had a great holiday weekend. I know I didn't really do a ton of fun stuff, but I got a lot done in terms of projects, which is always a great feeling coming back on Monday. So if you don't know me, I am Christy with Time to Profit. And what I do is I help business owners to win more customers by embracing and mastering the time to profit sales process. And we do this by eliminating a lot of the myths and the lies around sales and actually making sales much more rewarding for both the business owner and their prospects. And really, right, my goal is always to help make people not only have a process and a system around sales that they can rely on to help them reach their revenue goals, but to actually do it in a way that feels engaging and comfortable and that you feel confident so that you're not ready to have a sales conversation or segue from marketing to sales and feeling all nervous and scared. So what we're doing today on Facebook Live is talking about this problem of what happens when your prospects ghost you. So I don't know, there's kind of a weird line of lighting here on my background, but I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but maybe you have gone through and had multiple conversations with a potential client. They seem interested, they're engaged, they're responsive, and then all of a sudden it's like radio silence, and no matter what you do, you cannot get them to get back to you with a yes or no, or this is what's happening. It's just like all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. And this can happen in the online space as well for all my digital marketing people out there, that you have a really active email list, people are active on your Facebook group, but then all of a sudden you make an offer or you're getting ready to do a launch and it's crickets. And it's like, where did all that engagement go? What happened? So what I'm going to talk about today is the 5 reasons that typically people kind of disappear in the sales process, and the number one thing that you can do to reduce the likelihood that that will happen. And I want to say something about why this is so important to me. And part of that, I'm going to move my chair up so that I have a little bit better lighting. Maybe I can get my head all in the good lighting. Not really. I'm not going to worry too much about it though. But so one of the things that you guys, or that I care about a lot, if you know me, if you've been following me, is really being successful and having a lot of wins and having success and making money and having abundance, but doing it in a way that actually supports your life and your goals outside of work, and that you really have the time to enjoy the success that you're having. And that's one of the reasons why I call my business Time to Profit, is because I watch so many business owners struggle with working harder and doing more, and all of a sudden there's no time left for them to enjoy time with their friends and their family and to take care of themselves. And that's one of the reasons why I say don't be hustling, right? Nobody wants to hustle. Let's be strategic. Let's do things in a way that allow you to have that balance of success and time. And one of the things about this particular topic that really strikes me is that you put a lot of time and effort sometimes into nurturing these contacts and these prospects and these potential clients. And you've put in all the time and effort, and it's frustrating when all of a sudden that time and effort leads to nothing. Not even a reply where you can feel like, okay, I can debrief and here's what I could do better. And so that's one of the reasons I really wanted to talk about this today, is because it is something that you can address proactively and that you can really get in front of, and that you can have some strategies around. So when you put the time and effort in, when you've done great marketing, when you've had a great lead development, when you've had great prospecting conversations, that you actually get to see the fruits of that effort, and not just have to start from scratch all the time because people disappear. So let's get to it, right? What we're talking about is the 5 reasons why people tend to disappear. So the first one, it might be 6, but for sure 5. Okay, the first one is they're generally busy, right? Life happened, something blew up, something happened either in their personal life or their work life, and they have not had a chance to look at it and get back to you. And this absolutely does happen. It happens to me. I know it happens to other people. And a lot of times we forget that this can really happen and we try to overcomplicate it. And oftentimes if someone is truly busy and this hasn't been a priority on their to-do list with everything else that's happening, a simple check-in with a clear ask for a response is a really easy way to move this forward. So something as simple as an email or a phone call. Hey, is this still on your radar? Yes or no, right? Super simple. Give them an opportunity to respond and have the grace in there. But we typically tend to do one of two things. We panic, and so we kind of put on all the pressure, or we just are like, okay, they didn't get back to me, it's off my list. But this is a way that you can check in to see, are you really just busy? And is this still something you're thinking about? Yes or no? So the first reason they ghost you is they got busy, other priorities took precedent, right? That happens. The second reason that you might be getting ghosted from a prospect is they're on the fence. They don't know. Like, they're just like, I kind of want to, but I'm not sure about this. And there's typically one key reason that they're not moving forward. And they don't know how to bring up that reason in a way that doesn't feel like they're going to be sold to or have pressure put on them, or that maybe just doesn't feel vulnerable. And so the great thing about this is that this is a really good opportunity for you to check back in and make it easy for them to share with you what's keeping them on the fence. So one way that you can do this is just a simple request. I'm noticing that you've been quiet. I'm noticing I haven't heard back from you. Is there any information I can provide on my end that would make it easier for you to move forward with a yes or a no, right? Like, just that simple request. Is there anything that I can do? More often than not, people will respond with what that objection is and what is kind of keeping them on the fence. But if you don't know that, you can't move forward. And the last thing you want them to do is go through and try to answer it for themselves when they might not have all of the information that's relevant. So that's the second reason, is that they're on the fence. They need more information, but they don't know how to ask for it, or they're worried that if they ask for it, they're going to have a pushy sales conversation. So the third reason that they're ghosted you, or they haven't responded and they've disappeared, is that they actually need buy-in from somebody else. They are not the sole decision maker. So whether you're an insurance agent and they need to have approval from their spouse before they move forward with changing, or they want to have a conversation with their spouse, or you're a consultant and they need to talk to their boss or the owner of the company, there are oftentimes more than one decision maker. And sometimes, yes, people will use that as an excuse to not have to answer, but oftentimes there are other people. So here's what I want to say. If that's the case, you've probably missed an opportunity somewhere down the road, along the line, to actually figure that out, to find out if there is another decision maker that needs to be involved in the process. I always recommend trying to find that out as soon as possible. Is there someone else that you're going to want to talk to about this? Is there someone else that should be involved in this process? Because what happens when we don't know who the decision makers are is that we end up relying on our contacts and the person we're talking to sell for us. And they just simply aren't as effective at that because they don't have all of the information, right? So we want to find that out and get everyone involved in the conversation as quickly as possible if they are going to be a decision maker. But let's just say you've already gone down that road, you've already got to the decision-making process, they've disappeared, and there is another decision maker that's involved. You can use a lot of the same tools that I just said about what happens if they're on the fence, right? You can really just check in and say something along the lines at, would it be helpful if I reached out to XYZ directly? Is there somebody else that, needs some more information that I can connect with? Is there somebody else I should be talking to move this forward? Do you have a sense of what information might be useful to the person that's going to make that decision? That is a great question to ask, because then you can give them the tools to help you in that conversation. So really just being curious about, what does that person who's going to be involved in the decision need and what's important to them, and can you provide that directly? And if not, what's the best way for me to make that easy for you to pass this along? The fourth reason that somebody might have disappeared is that they have actually already decided no, but they don't want to tell you, right? How many times have you known that you're like, the answer is no, but you're like, let me think about it, just because you don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation. As human beings, we generally don't like to tell people no. We don't like conflict. We don't like letting people down. We are really, there's a lot of value for us as humans as staying as part of the tribe and being in people's good graces, even if they're people we don't know that well. And so oftentimes in the sales process, people will just disappear rather than tell you no. And this to me is actually the most frustrating thing. And oftentimes when I am working with my clients, I am constantly telling them, the goal isn't to get a yes, it's not to convince them, it's just to find out where they are so you can move forward and you don't have to spend any more effort on this client if they're not a good prospect for you any longer. So a lot of times what I will do, if I feel like this is the case, I will send an email. Should I keep the time blocked? I'm planning my schedule for the next quarter. And I need to know by end of day tomorrow if you're moving forward or not. And just a simple reply, yes or no, would really help me with my planning process, right? Make it easy for them to say yes, make it easy for them to say no, make it easy for them to say, I need more information. You want to make it easy for them to give you the answer. And this is a lot of the time why I talk about on-ramps and off-ramps. You want to make it easy for people to say yes, absolutely. But you also want to make it easy for them to say no so that you know where they're at in the process, so that you can address that prospect accordingly. So that is a big reason why a lot of times people will ghost you, is because they've said no. But it's okay to reach out and say, can you just reply with a simple yes or no so I can move forward and I can follow up appropriately, right? And just give them the opportunity to say no gracefully, and that's okay. And then that doesn't mean, sometimes not now doesn't mean not ever, and we'll talk about that later. But really at this point, if that's why they've disappeared, you just want to get them to commit to a yes or a no, even if it's a no, right? Don't be scared of the no. The final reason that they might have disappeared is that they're exploring other options, right? So they're maybe want to go with you, but they need more information. They want to research their competitors. They're not sure, right? And again, we've talked about this a lot, but this is where you just want to follow up and find out, is there any other information I could provide that would make this decision easier? If they're saying, we're not sure yet, we've got some other things we need to explore. Okay, what specifically are you exploring? Because I might have some resources that can make the decision easier for you, right? So those are all things that can help you with the 5 reasons that people tend to disappear. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of the Facebook Live today, if you weren't here for that I would tell you the number one thing that you can do to avoid having this happen, avoid having prospects and potential clients disappear partway through the process. And that is, are you ready for it? This is really important. You want to take leadership and get commitment for the next step in every single conversation. Take the ambiguity out of it, right? And this doesn't have to feel slimy, and it doesn't have to be uncomfortable. It can be as simple as, based on what we've talked about today and the questions you've asked, my sense is the next step is having a deeper conversation where all the decision makers are at the table. Does that sound right? Does that sound kind of like where you're at? Yes, great. Okay, so here's what I propose we do. Let's get that set up for X date at this time, right? So see, that doesn't feel pushy, but you're taking leadership and you're identifying that next step. Or maybe it's like, based on what we've talked about today, it sounds like this would be a great fit for you and really help you address what you're looking for. It sounds like the next step will be a formal proposal. Does that sound right to you? Okay, who needs to be involved in that proposal process? Are there any other decision makers? Great, let's get that on the calendar. Or it might be, hey, it sounds like based on what we've talked about, you guys are ready to rock and roll and this is exactly what you need. Here's what I propose. Let's send over contracts and review those with the tentative date of getting them signed by XYZ so that we can start at ABC date, right? But no matter where you're at in the process, whether they're early on in the process or whether they're ready to buy, you want to get that commitment to the next step nailed down so you're not waiting for them. And what often happens is that we have a great conversation with somebody and then we get nervous around the ending and we don't want to be salesy. So what we do is say, okay, well, I'll let you think about this and then get back to me, right? So we let the client we put the responsibility on the client, which isn't fair because the client's really busy and has a lot of other things on their plate. And then it's much more likely that one of those 5 things will happen and they'll disappear. So instead, what I'm going to encourage you to do is every time you have a sales conversation, even if it's early on, just get a commitment. Summarize where you think they're at. Get their buy-in on that. And if they're like, no, actually, that's not where we're at all. We don't want to talk to you again. Okay, well, that's good to know, right? It will save you so much time if you just have that quick conversation at the end of the initial conversation, no matter where they are, and get the next step nailed down. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to go through a list of any potential clients that you have that have just kind of disappeared, that have either stopped returning your calls, stopped reporting your message. And I want you to think about those 5 things that we talked about, right? The 5 reasons that people ghosted you. They're either busy. I'm going to go review them. They're on the fence, right? They haven't decided yet, but they don't want to feel pressured. They need approval from somebody else. They've already decided no, but they don't want to tell you. Or they're still exploring other options with other providers who do something similar. So they're getting additional proposals. And I want you to just use your best guess, right? This is use your intuition based on the conversation you had. If you had to guess which of the reasons that these people have disappeared is, which would it be? And then follow up with them appropriately. I gave you some tools on that. If you want to go back and rewatch that, I gave you a quick little tool for each one of those. And then I want you to really get practice asking for the next step when you finish every conversation, because that is going to save you so much time in the long run, and it's going to really improve your results, and it's going to make the process more rewarding for you and for the prospect, because they're going to know exactly what to expect too, which they will really, really appreciate. So that is your homework based on this Facebook Live and what we're talking about. What I also want you to do, if you are not a member of the Time to Profit public Facebook group, go ahead and ask to join that group right now. I will approve you because we are starting some really cool stuff in September. Tomorrow I'm actually going to go do a deep dive into the sales planning tool and checklist that you can download for free on the mytimetoprofit.com website. We're going to be doing some other really cool opportunities for you to go deeper into the tools that I talk about on the page in that Time to Profit Facebook group. It's completely free. It's a great group of people that are all very supportive, and really it will help you go deeper on these skills. So if you're not a member of that, go ahead and request to join today. And then if you're planning, if you want some sales planning tools and some checklists to really help you strategize how you're going to spend your time around sales, go to mytimetoprofit.com. Again, that's mytimetoprofit.com, and download this free sales planning tool and checklist directly from that website. And then just stay connected. So I am here to support you so that you can really utilize all of the efforts that you're putting in marketing around your business and networking, and start really generating those wins for new clients so that you can be successful in your business, but to do it in a way that is rewarding for you and your prospects. Have a great rest of the week. Share with me kind of what your response is when you follow up with these people who have disappeared, where you get stuck. I am here to support and help you in your sales efforts. I will see you next week.